Yo, what up YouTube? This video is about how you can hack your ADHD and dyslexia to read more books than normal people, creating a system that turns your disability into a superpower. A lot of people don't know this, but I got ADHD and dyslexia. Over the last couple of years, I figured out some cool systems to turn the disadvantages of having ADHD into huge advantages for myself. First, let's talk about what ADHD and dyslexia is. About 4% of the adult population of North America have ADHD, and about 10% of the population of North America have dyslexia, and about 20% of the people that have ADHD have dyslexia as well. ADHD, let's talk about the negative. Humans with ADHD have issues with hyperactivity and inattention. That's just a fancy way of saying that we have trouble paying attention, staying focused, and staying still. On the positive side, humans with ADHD have the ability to hyperfocus when performing challenging and engaging tasks. Hyperfocusing is a flow state where you're so intensely focused on something, no other information gets into your brain. People that have dyslexia have trouble with word fluency, they have poor spelling, and they have poor skills at decoding words when they're reading. On the positive side, humans with dyslexia have really powerful visual thinking skills. So when it comes to traditional reading, the deck is really stacked against people who have ADHD and dyslexia. When people like us try to read books traditionally, our negative aspects manifest themselves and make it really difficult for us to keep going. Because of our dyslexia, we have a hard time decoding words, so we have to read really slow. Reading slow is really boring. So when we're reading, our ADHD kicks in and it kicks us out of focus. The combined effects of ADHD and dyslexia makes it really difficult for people like us to read like normal people do. So over the last couple of years, I've been developing a reading system that reduces or minimizes the negative effects of having ADHD and dyslexia and activating some of the positive effects of having ADHD and dyslexia while I'm reading. One of my biggest problems while we're reading is our inattentiveness caused by our boredom. While we're reading, we don't decode words fast enough for our brain to be fully engaged. So we get bored. Our brains are not getting enough stimulation for us to be thinking, hey, bro, pay attention to this. When we read, we need to be activating our hyperfocusing flow state and our visual thinking superpower. So here's the system. I use a 3-step system, and in each step I'm trying to decide if I want to keep reading. So here's how it works. So the first step is I go to YouTube and I watch the book talk that authors usually do when they first release a book. The Talks at Google channel is really good. This step does 2 things for me. Number 1, it helps me visualize the person who wrote the book, so when I'm actually reading the book, I can think of myself as having a conversation with the author instead of just reading a bunch of words or thinking about a bunch of words. Number 2, it gives me a big overall picture about what the book is about. This way, when I'm reading, I know where the author is taking me and have an easier time following along. This step gives me the context I need to organize the new information I got from the book. At the end of the talk, if I'm more curious about the book than I was at the start of the talk, then I move on to step 2. In step 2, I go to either Amazon or Goodreads and I read a bunch of different reviews about what other people have said about this book. I usually read a couple of 1-star reviews, 3-star reviews, and 5-star reviews. This step helps me decide whether this book will be helpful to me. By reading the positive and the negative reviews, it gives me several different perspectives I can use to process the information that's written in the books. After reading the reviews, if I'm more curious than I was before starting to read the reviews, then I move on to step 3. Step 3, speed reading the audiobooks. If I get to step 3, that means I'm really curious about what this book is about and I'm really excited to start reading this thing. I download the audiobook. Audiobooks are a really great hack for people with dyslexia. They completely get rid of the decoding problem. Since dyslexics are really good visual thinkers, when we're reading an audiobook that we're curious about, it helps us create really vivid images in our brains and it gets us really engaged. I want to keep my ADHD brain really engaged in the reading while I'm doing the audiobooks. So I usually play them at 3 times the speed. Usually audiobook apps have a feature where you can speed up the recording. Here's a quick tip though. You can't just jump to 3 times speed. You gotta kind of build that up. You need to read several books at 1.5 and then 2.0 and then 2.5 and then finally at 3.0 to be able to understand and be engaged in the book. Otherwise it'll just go over your head if you just jump to 3 times X right away. So give it some time, read a few books, and you'll get there. Sometimes I combine the audiobook with doing some low cognitive load task, like cleaning the house or taking a walk, or even playing some casual games like Tetris or something, or Stardew Valley. At these higher reading speeds, my brain is having to work really hard to process all the visual and auditory information. A lot of information is getting pushed into my head, so my brain's going to have to keep working really hard, right? And that engages my ADHD brain. The combination of the new information, curiosity, visualizations, and the challenge of having to process all this information at a really fast rate will often help your brain as an ADHD person go into a hyperfocus flow state. And in this state, you'll be able to perform way better than normal people would be at their best. Being in a flow state feels really good. Time just flies by. Using this system, I could often read a book in a few hours, and it doesn't even feel like that much effort on my part. So that's basically the system I used to read over 50 books this year. If you guys are interested in learning more about this, I can do another video going over some of the tools and services I use to make this process really easy. Give this a try. Let me know how it goes. If you guys have any questions or just want to chat, you know where to find me. Peace.